There's also a trend now, and it's called quiet quitting. So I looked into that a little bit and talked to a mental health expert about what it means to experience this and really what's behind it. Take a look.
Do you feel burned out at work? Are you tired of doing extra for your job but not getting paid for it? Some are turning to quiet quitting as a solution. The term has picked up steam on social media recently. This summer, a TikTok video on quiet quitting went viral, now with millions of views. It essentially means no more coming into work early or going overtime for your job without extra compensation. If you're working at home, quiet quitting means turning off the laptop after your job's scheduled hours. The trend is catching on, especially with Gen Z workers, as they look to reassess their lives outside the workplace. The pandemic has been an era of change for many companies and their employees as both adjust to more of a culture of remote working. And amid the great resignation, more work is falling on the shoulders of fewer people, and many workers are just burned out.
With us today to talk more about this, we have Delisa Russell, who is a mental health expert and the group CEO of Promises Behavioral Health in Houston and Bryan College Station. Okay, we hear this term, quiet quitting. Aren't we really just talking about prioritizing things and kind of work-life balance, whatever that means?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting topic for me to talk about, you know, in the sense that now I'm not just the employee coming in, but I'm also, you know, the CEO of the facility. And I think that a lot of it is, you're right, Justin, it's around work-life balance.
And so as far as achieving that, I guess there are some key things we need to do. I mean, time management has to be one of the most important things.
I think time management is actually the number one thing, you know, that goes along with it. Being able to look at things that are important to you, but that are also important for your employer. I mean, I start each day with my little list. I have a list of things I must do today, things I'd like to do today, and things that, well, that it kind of falls into getting it put down to the end of the week.
What if someone takes it to the extreme and not just does those two things, prioritizing and balancing things, but they actually just do less at work and kind of throw their hands up in the air and give up a little bit and do the bare minimum? There have to be some negatives with that, obviously.
Well, I think that both the employer and the employee have things that they need to commit to. One thing for the employee, you're saying if they just quit doing things, well, you can see how that would be an issue, right? I mean, it's about communication. I think it's very important for both the employer and the employee to communicate what the expectations are, or what the priorities are, and really looking at, you know, together what is important for them. We talked about communication with your employer, but also communicating with your family. I think that's something that we don't always sit down and do enough of, in the sense of, you know, talking to the family. You know, kids, you can't give me your list for your science fair the night before, right? Yeah. Or there are things that we need to do together. Communication starts at home as well, because what we have to do is we do have to go to work if we want to earn a salary to support our families.
How can you tell, you know, if you're just kind of in the grind of things with family and then you're at work and you're kind of doing all this, how can you tell, look, I'm getting burned out, I need to make a change?
You know, when you start looking at things, and it's interesting that we're talking about this during mental health work, right? Whenever you feel like that it is having a negative impact on your health, whether it be your mental health, your physical health and everything, your family, you know, is it impacting your daily, weekly, monthly life?
What else can you do to avoid getting burned out, especially on the job?
You know, it's interesting because I was doing some reading about this, and they talked about exercise. Now, I want to tell you that I tend to be the world's worst about prioritizing my exercise until I feel like I get to the point that, you know, maybe the pants don't fit as well as they used to, right? And so then I start looking at schedule, you know, talking about time management. And I put that into my schedule because exercise, I know that you're thinking burnout, exercise in the sense that it lifts the endorphins, that it, you know, it makes us feel better, it helps our physical health and everything, but it also helps thinking and thinking clearly. And so if you had that going on for you, the likelihood of you being able to be more productive, to get things done more timely, and prioritize your days might also go well. Now, I think that as an employer, my company is very progressive in the sense that we are looking at employee engagement. There are things that the employer needs to do for their employees as well. I mean, when you're looking at things like training, when you're looking at opportunities for them to be involved in decision making, I mean, that's important for people too, to be engaged.
And I know there has to sometimes be just a break. A lot of these celebrities we see can go just take time off for months at a time. We can't do that. We're regular folks who are here in the trenches doing our work. It's sometimes awkward for folks to ask for time off when they know there's going to be a gap that's left behind. Why is that so important to do, and how do they do it?
I think that it's very important, again, communication, right? And planning. If you know that there are big projects that are coming up, or that there's a time that is particularly more busy for your company, wanting to schedule your big giant European vacation at that time might not be the best thing for both parties. So I think with sitting down, again, with your boss, with your supervisor, and saying, hey, I am trying to take some time to be with my family, and I was wondering, if we could sit and look at the calendar of when that might be best.
So what if you do all these things and you're still not able to get that work-life balance quite right? We'll hear from Delisa about the so-called nuclear option right after this.